I'm Brandon.
I'm Chris.
And this is Fill the Box. Dude, let's start with you this week.
Yeah.
Let's get your quick update recap.
Yeah.
Gone to Texas. How was that?
That's great. It was awesome. It's been a very long week, but it's one of my favorite weeks of the year. I love putting on events and producing events, and I like the stress and the tiredness and the activity level that comes with that, and just problem after problem that little or big they come up, and you got to figure it out, right? So, then I love it, and working with the guys that I got to work with this year has been awesome. Gus and Curtis and Hanley and Zach and David Christie and everybody else that put it on really did a great job. There wasn't ever any time that something happened that somebody was like, I don't want to do that, or I can't fix that. Right. It was always, sure, we'll figure it out. Yeah.
The brotherhood was strong.
Yeah, absolutely. So the classes were awesome. The speakers were awesome. Having Ray McCormick down from New York is pretty cool.
Yeah.
The Stone brothers, DJ and Shannon Stone. Oh my goodness, the leadership lectures that they gave were awesome. It was incredible.
Dude, it looked like a blast.
Yeah. And then the hands-on classes were awesome. It was hot, and fortunately not quite as humid yesterday, but it was hot yesterday. So it was.
So Kevin Lewis taught, Thomas Anderson taught, John Patton. Dude, there was a whole bunch of dudes out there.
Bradley Miller, Brandon Hare, Patton, the Smoke Divers at TCC.
Dude, I was jelly.
Yeah.
Yeah, dog. That looked like a blast.
That was awesome.
Yep.
We got during the truck class at Arlington. They made basically a smoke barrel with a pipe off of it, and on the second floor roof prop, they put plastic all down the sides of it and piped the smoke barrel into the roof prop, so that when they were cutting on the roof prop, you're getting actual smoke push out. That's cool. Badass, dude.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
Way to recycle.
A truck class with no saw, so. They did. There was a lot of other stuff with the truck class, but they were sending the first group up for this scenario, and they were like, "We doing saws?" They're like, "We're gonna do chainsaw appreciation day, buddy."
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah,
and they did.
Dude, that's a smart way to recycle your smoke, though.
Yeah,
put it through on that roof prop. That's brilliant. That's a
awesome.
Big brain right there.
Yep. Yeah, it was awesome. It's been a very long week. It's been a busy week, but I'm glad it's over. But it's also. It's a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, dude, look at you, man. You're coming in your own as VP, dude. Bad things happen, but man,
hey,
dude,
man.
way to have that fucking flower out of the concrete moment.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's a lot of fun, and I'm even more. I'm sure we'll take a little bit of a lull, but I'm very excited for next year. Be bigger and better. Yeah. So.
And then there'll be fools meetings throughout and things like that.
Yeah, we're trying to get. I'm not going to say who yet because we haven't got him yet, but we'll have a meeting coming up. I hope it'll be July. We'll have a meeting and lecture in July, and hopefully that's what we're going to do, some making sure the e-board's voted on and stuff like that. Yeah. And then we're in very preliminary talks of doing maybe a 1 or 2 day lecture and hot class in the fall.
Right.
Around here, Parker County area. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But definitely there'll be more than there has been the last year or two. So, yeah. Cool. How you been?
Good. I'm all right. My wife wrecked her car, and I've been struggling with that. Everybody knows about that. We were at the light at the end of the tunnel, in car payments at least, and then reset back to another $45,000. So, but we haven't decided on what we're going to do yet and all that stuff. But it has been, man, I have been struggling with that. Loving your wife through a moment of like, oh, that was your fault. You did this. You did this to us. It's been pretty hard, but we're getting through it. Work's been cool. The dudes let me off the medic. They downed the medic so I could just come here and relax. Nice. I didn't have a report to do. So today I was just late because I was late, and I'm sorry. I apologize to both of you. I got really nothing other than being sick. It's like the only thing that's consumed my brain.
Crazy
so that's
kids,
why I sound like that, dude. Yeah, yeah.
The kids will get you.
That's who gave it to me.
Yeah, same. You just talk about a crazy.
Last weekend, Dusty and Keith went camping. Dusty brought his whole family, and Keith and his wife went. And then Keith ended up getting sick right after it, and ended up having to call to work because he was sick. Right. Dusty was like, "I'm pretty sure it's my kids." Like he's hanging around my kids all week. They're freaking, you know how kids are. They're always sick with something. So
yep. Yeah, dude. Big news for us, Fill the Box. We've been doing our own thing, so it's been hard to come together. But hey, Fill the Box. Hey, you guys, thank you. We appreciate it. We raised, $130?
Yeah.
Positive, right? Like, so not just like, oh man, we broke even, but we made $130. Now, what that'll go into, no idea. Have no idea. We got so much stuff to do around here. I wish we could show you the whole, podcast room. But yeah, man, the positivity, the following, and like just the encouragement from going positive is gonna. I'm down with this forever.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Dude, I'm so excited. I am jazzed. So,
golf tournament immediately.
Dude, Fill the Box Foundation. Yeah, that too. We need to get
Gun
that
shoots,
going.
we need it all.
Yeah. So. You like planning events, Chris? There's our first event.
Yeah, perfect.
Fill the Box Foundation
next weekend.
golf tournament. Well, I don't know about that.
Next
I'll be out of
weekend.
town. I'll be in Lake
George
Tahoe.
Strait
Father's
next
Day,
weekend.
right?
Yeah. We're going to College Station for George Strait.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
that's
y'all
right.
are? Dang, I'm jealous.
Yeah, you should be. They got
It's
really
my
good
birthday.
tickets too.
You're going too for them?
No, I'm not.
Oh, I was like,
We'll be in Lake Tahoe. We tried.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a once in a lifetime deal opening up at Kyle Field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, speaking of once in a lifetime deals, hey buddy, let's go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay. Well, I'm Austen Aaron. Been a fireman for, golly, I volunteered at Alito prior to,
That was back before Lito was part of the ESD, right?
yeah, it was Alito Volunteer Fire Department, and worked with a bunch of guys that currently work there.
Yep.
And then after I went to A&M, I came back and started working at Parker County. I came back and they're like, yeah, hey, it's not Alito anymore.
Surprise.
Surprise.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. And getting to work there and, experience a ton. But yeah, from there, went and got my medic. Finally started working at Mansfield. Been there for about 6 years, but altogether in the fire service, about 10-ish. I like to count some of my volunteer
Yeah, dog.
days. You know what I
I
mean?
count it.
It's
Boys doing hero shit.
count it, yeah.
I was talking to, I think it came up on the wives episode. I think I was actually telling your wife. I was like, you're one of the first guys I really actually met at Alito.
Yeah.
They showed me the ropes and
Yeah.
how to put my gear on and like air packs and stuff like that. It was wild.
Hopefully I did an okay job.
I'm still around, so
Yeah, still alive, hadn't been burned, so you did okay.
The first guy that showed me, when I came back, he was still working at the county.
Oh,
He
yeah.
goes, "Who taught you how to gear up?" And I go, "You did." And so I hate to, or not hate, but like when people say like, "Oh yeah, we did this." I'm like, "Oh God, I hope I did."
yeah, I hope I did a good job.
Yeah, I hope I did a good job.
Yeah.
But yeah, been working there and having a good time. It's medic fire stuff. So I work with a lot of good dudes,
Yeah.
a lot of guys and girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
yeah.
All right. So real quick, how do we meet?
So we met at an event that was put on.
Hosted at your house, yes.
Yes, and there might have been an accident. We were allegedly.
Allegedly. I have a scar that says no, it's not allegedly. But
was hit by a firework. And I will say that I was in your wedding, so it kind of evens out now.
yeah, well, I was in your wedding too, so is it really even?
But the firework situation happened right after, like when we got into your wedding, so that's how it
Oh
evens
yeah.
out.
All right, cool.
But yeah, that's how we met.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
And then we decided, hey, we're going to do this thing. We're like, hey, you want to be a fireman?
No homo.
I want to be a
Yeah.
fireman. Yeah, no, yeah,
Yeah.
that too.
Before you get too far and we're going to do this thing together.
Yeah.
We were just talking about medic
Being
school
fireman.
together. Yeah.
Medic school, yeah.
Yeah. So we went to medic school
So
together.
we did.
That was a blast.
Yeah, that was I wouldn't call it a blast. I would call it a lot of work.
Yeah, it was. It was. It's a shit show.
So yeah, up and downs to that is fun.
But yeah.
But yeah, man. So that's kind of where that's all been.
All right. So let's start here. What makes you into men's mental health?
Well,
other than being a man.
I have that checkbox checked. No, I guess the big thing is what's your why, and that really goes back to why I wanted to be a fireman in the first place. I wanted to help people, and I know we overuse that every kid you talk to is
It's
like,
a legitimate
I want to
reason,
help
though.
people.
Yeah.
And it is.
Yeah.
But when you wake up for the 30th time for 6 years running the same call, do you still want to help that person?
Yeah. Well,
You
there's
know, it stresses you out after, keep doing it over and over again. But so kind of where it all started, where I, got into this service was I went on a mission trip to Saltillo, Mexico when I was in high school. And while we were there, we're kind of in the barrios of Mexico. We're like giving stuff out to the kids, and we handed out like a bunch of different things. But during that moment, as we're handing out stuff, as you can imagine, it is just a third world country. They just tie in like beans to everything. Like everything is just all tied in together. Electricity was really not stable. Anyways, a fire broke out on the top of this hill, and so me and the youth group that I was with, we ended up rushing up and putting this this fire out with the bucket brigades.
Heck yeah, dude.
Yeah. And so that was my first taste of like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And actually not even that was obviously fun and adrenaline pump that we all get when we smell it. You roll the window down. You're getting there. You're like, yeah, this is a burner. But actually, the aftermath of that was we kind of see the family there, and they're upset. They literally have absolutely nothing. Like here, something like that happens. People gather together and they they work together and they can live. But there they had nothing, and it's kind of like a cheesy inspirational movie. But we cleaned up everything. Our group raised like $1,000. And this was in 2009, I think, or 2000, somewhere around there. 6 or 7. Not thinking about it. Anyways, but raised $1,000 with just kids that we gave to this family. And then this is where the cheesy inspirational movie comes in play. And it wasn't even me that led this, but someone stood up and was like, let's take our clothes off to give them to the market so they can go sell it. And all of us took our shoes off, took our shirts off, hats, and gave it to this family. And ever since then, that's when I was like, yep, this is what I want to do. Yeah. I want to help people. I want to be there on their worst day. And so that kind of ties in, that's the starting of everything. Yeah. So, and which led me to go to A&M. A&M's, are a lot of tradition, but also a lot of selfless service, that kind of stuff. Yeah. And so I did a bunch of I did an organization there that was it's called Build, and basically they build mobile medical units, and they're still building them today. They just got like a $1.5 million that organization I was part of got a campus. And so they they build mobile medical units on the campus now.
Well, that's cool.
So it's nuts. Yeah. It was just me and some college students that were kind of piecing it all together, and now they've just grown. And
that's awesome.
I can't remember what the last count they were at, but they were doing 4 a year, and it's been like 10 years. Yeah. But I think they did more or less certain years, but yeah. But anyways, that's kind of the why of it all.
That's cool.
Yeah, so that's where it all started. Mm-hmm. And then as we go into my career and how I got kind of into mental health, I guess we can just, I don't know how you want to go into that whole.
So, man. All right. So let's start here. We're not going to bash anybody. This isn't about like who did what wrong. This isn't about like, oh yeah, everybody should have done something different, or like this is truly an experience that not a lot of people get to see in their career. we always show up to the aftermath. Someone has to dial 911. We're responding 5 to 6 minutes, whatever, and then we get there. None of us really get to see the literal moment. So we're not going to bash anybody. We're not going to talk shit. We're not going to armchair quarterback. But you have a perspective that not a lot of people will ever get to see in their career. So it's truly a once in a lifetime event. So
definitely, yeah. So I was on a back half of a 48. It came in that second day and had a terrible shift, like just running calls, hitting the ground running. Like, I mean, I think I was down 5 charts before this call turned out. And we got called out for a gunshot wound, and kind of reading the notes, going to it, we kind of had a, obviously you're a little amped up to get that call. You don't know exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
But we get called out. We're reading the notes, and it's like, okay, gunshot wound to the hand, that kind of stuff. We ended up. Well, I guess before I start, sorry, I know I just like went into this stuff, but I do want to say, like, when I talk about this, I want to, also bring up that, this is kind of the way that we as responders like get over this stuff, is talking about it.
Yeah.
And I meant to kind of say that before, so maybe I can restart if you want.
No,
okay.
We can. It's fine.
But yeah, I just wanted to, point out that this is a way to get this from a nightmare into a memory.
Right.
I don't know if y'all have taken that resiliency class or anything like that, but that's kind of one thing they do talk about is there's a whole spiel on that, but that's all I really wanted to bring up, and that's why I'm talking about it, and feel great talking about it. Anyways, but kind of fast forward into that call, like I said, we get called out. We go, we get put on standby, or just for safety wise, gunshot, that kind of deal. As we get there, we're on standby for maybe like 5 or 10 minutes. We ended up getting called all clear scene, and so we make our way into the scene. So we walk up. First thing we see is just a big like I don't even know what it's like, a wolf. I don't know how else to explain it. Big dog.
Yeah.
And that throws your red flags up. Like, I probably shouldn't be walking into this place.
You're right.
And about that time, a police officer goes, "Hey, you're good. You're fine. Like, dog's cool." And me, I'm a dog person, so I'm like, all right, I guess that's cool. I guess we're doing this. This is what we do. We push on to hard stuff. And of course, you got your crew with you. You're kind of like, we can do anything together, kind of deal.
We're fine.
Yeah, we're good. And so, anyway, we sit there talking, and we ended up running this call. Well, we found a patient there that had a gunshot wound to the hand, and kind of talking to her, very, very just standoffish. Like, doesn't want to talk to us. I wouldn't say doesn't know why we're there, but just doesn't want to be a part of anything that we're doing.
Yeah.
And so, talking to her, and this is actually my call. I'm the lead paramedic on this call, and just kind of getting right there, talking to her. Hey, look, we're here. We're with the fire department. We want to help you. We want to, be there in this time of need, and just, standoffish, I'll say.
Yeah.
Consistently, and there's a couple times that I felt that we were kind of making a progression to trying to help.
Yeah.
And just kind of same thing, backing off, to the point where it was really only me and maybe, I think one of my partners is there with me, and maybe one officer. We had some other commotion going on at the scene, and we're trying to, take our time and talk to this person, because there's something going on. It's not just more. She just basically saying that, I had an accident. I was cleaning my gun. I'm a new gun owner, and I racked it into I didn't know there was a there was a round in it, and I racked it and shot myself. And I'm sitting there like, one, kind of relying on my training from school was, females don't do this, know. Like, females don't shoot themselves typically.
Yeah.
It's pills or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking of that, thinking of, there might be something more here. I don't know. Her story kind of makes sense. Like, I've run that same call of like, I accident, shot myself. I was cleaning my gun. Now it is like 2 a.m, which, definitely threw me off and threw my crew off because we're all exhausted.
Right.
Yeah.
And so anyways, we keep talking to her, and finally we kind of, us and PD were like, hey, we don't know. We're going to mental app, and we're going to go that route. So as they kind of begin that process, I remember stepping back and probably from, less than 10 feet away, the police officer kind of come in and explain to her, hey, this is what's going to go on. We're going to take you into medication, get evaluated. And about that time, she ends up smoking a cigarette, and kind of, and he's still explaining to her like, hey, look, we are moving this way. We're, just as calm as we can be. Hey, we're moving this way. We're gonna do a mental evaluation on you. And people that don't know, mental application is just if you're a threat to yourself or you're a threat to somebody else, that police is gonna detain you, and then we're gonna take you to the hospital, get seen by a physician, because we all think that you're in crisis in that moment.
Yeah. And
we want to get you the help that you can actually get from the hospital. So that's supposed to work. Yeah. And anyways, as we're kind of talking to her, she ends up smoking the cigarette, talking to him. I'm thinking, hey man, this is probably going to go down the fight route versus the just kind of how she's been agitated. So I'm honestly starting to get my meds ready, because I'm like, this is probably where we're going to go. Yeah. About that time, he tells her like, hey, you're going to put the cigarette out. We're going to move you. And, this is going to be harmless. Like, all we're doing is just going to load you up and take you to the hospital. Yeah. Well, about that point, I hear something. I look up, and she's hidden 9mm and racks it and pulls the trigger on herself in the head. And,
shit.
Yeah, that's what we were all thinking, About that point, we kind of all, jump back and get to cover, because we don't know. I remember looking up, seeing it, and almost not thinking it was real, Yeah.
Right.
And, stepping back and kind of getting into cover. And then at that point, you kind of, I don't care who you are, like, you kind of think, okay, what are we going to do now?
Yeah.
Like, what just happened? I'm processing. I'm trying to get all this stuff done. Right. I'm like, I'm still at work. Like, this isn't at home. Yeah. This is not my normal.
I can't just leave.
Yeah. I'm here. This is what I do. And all those thoughts are kind of racing, and, she ends up hitting the ground. And I remember not having any of those the long-term thoughts we'll get to here in a minute. But I remember, going back and being like, man, we got to get back to work. Like, we just had a serious situation happen, and, going through, and I won't get too much into detail of what happened there, but we took care of her. Our crew did a freaking phenomenal job. Our dudes. But no, I went down and felt her pulse, and knew that we had to work it. Yeah. And so we, like I said, I don't know how much I can say from that, but
leave it at that.
We ended up working the scenario, working the call. And that's kind of where, I can tell you at 2 a.m. after working a long shift, you're going to have a hard time doing your job, and something like that comes to happen, because you're...
Oh, for sure.
You're... I've been doing this for, like I said, 10-ish years, we can safely say, and This was obviously the worst call I've been on currently.
Yeah.
You know,
Currently,
I'm hopefully
yeah.
not gonna get any more, but who knows? You know, I signed up for this. I signed up to go to the chaos, but anyways, we ended up making it. Our crew did a freaking phenomenal job for what it was. Just things that I wasn't thinking of, like calling battalion, calling another medic.
Yeah.
And that's what we're gonna get into for the the mental health side of stuff, and our department's vamped our policies, and they're doing a lot now, which is exciting.
Yeah.
But from there, we left that call, or we left, and after this crazy thing, I remember. I'll fast forward a little bit. My captain, after the second medic came back and picked her up. Hey man, get out of the medic, and rightfully so. I mean, I was like, yeah, you're right. I need to get this medic.
Yeah.
This is way too much.
Yeah.
And and that there's a lot going on there. A lot of the stuff that our crew talked about and got through, but we ended up leaving there and kind of going back to the station and decompressing and having a time with ourselves. And at that point, I think it was super late at that point. Like we basically just stayed up the rest of the night.
Yeah, you're probably not going to sleep.
Yeah, probably not going to sleep after something like that happened. And we went through with all those guys and we talked through it. We went through and each individual had as much as little, whatever they wanted to say when we got back. And there was a lot. It was a lot of emotions, a lot of crazy things.
Was it y'all as the medic and an engine, or was it just y'all?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, first it was the medic and Quint. Yeah,
okay.
A truck company. Well, now we're a true truck. I
There
say
you
true
go.
truck. We're called a truck now, but it is still Quint. So now it's all the same. It's all good stuff. Not all this. Anyways.
Jesus, you're about to piss off a lot of firemen, bud. Whoa.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying that we have the capability to do both.
Yeah.
That's all. So
It was y'all. It was,
yeah,
what, like
us and
6
then,
dudes.
I think they called off I think we called off the battalion initially, and then they obviously
Yeah.
But there's a lot. I mean that it, like I said, that call really defined where we wanted to go as a department. Right after that, we had some pretty significant things happen in our department. We had 2 captain's sons that lost their lives, and really, like I said, just back to back. I mean, that was all within 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And so, after that call, I mean, there's a ton to think about. There's, this. I was there by myself with her, talking, and what if she's not mad and wants to, put it on me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
she's not mad at herself; she's mad at somebody else. And so you can keep thinking of all those things, and you can keep going through all this stuff and saying what could have happened, what this stuff. Come to find out, and the first question I get asked every time is, okay, so how did that transpire to where they, did she have another gun, whatever it was?
Yeah.
What she told PD was she shot herself in the car, and the car is locked. And so whenever they said, where's the gun, that's locked in their car, and there's a trail of blood from the car to the backyard where they found her.
Yeah.
And so they can't, from what I've understood and everything, is like, it's just guns in the car, it's locked. They can't,
Without probable cause or warrant or whatever.
Yeah. And so they like I said, I don't want to get into all that stuff. I just know that that's where, to that point, what was happening. But again, I mean, could have been another gun. We could spit there.
Yeah.
We could have. I mean, I got. How many guns do you have?
Yeah.
It's 6 or
Yeah.
7.
Easy there, ATF.
Yeah, that's right. But no, I mean, really, what I want to talk about is, afterwards and what we did as a department.
Yeah.
And I'm so freaking proud of what we've accomplished, and it's official, but also unofficial what we've been doing, and it's been great. Our department's done an awesome job about letting our our peer support team build our peer support team.
Good. Awesome.
And coming from the ground up versus the up down,
Yeah.
I know they want to be a part of it, and that's absolutely where they need to be a part of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they have stuff that I'm sure that they haven't unloaded before, because what they grew up with was suck it up. Like, we run bad calls. Like, you probably shouldn't talk about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I think that this new generation look at the statistics of firemen.
Yeah.
Look at the statistics of firemen, police, and dispatchers, and we're like number 1, number 2 of suicides,
Yep.
number one in cardiovascular issues. I mean, y'all talked about it on your previous podcast, but I know part of that is not getting the stuff off your chest.
Yeah.
And whenever I got done with that call and started talking about it, I talked to Dr. Tillman, which is a part of the readiness group, and I've spoke with them a lot, the readiness group, about this call and this whole transition to everything. And with readiness group, or with Dr. Tillman, she talked to me that day. And then was kind of explaining to me, look, this is what you're going to go through. You're probably not going to sleep. You're not going to have a whole lot. You might be emotional. And I was very emotional. I mean, and I didn't know why. That was the other crazy part. It's just being like, why, like, I don't know why I'm crying right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But going from that to, I think it was, our next shift was 4 days later, obviously. So we went and did our debrief. We did a small debrief back then, but then we did it with the clinicians after. And in between then, I did EMDR, which I know you've talked about it before.
Yeah.
But just to reiterate, EMDR is just it's a method they use to activate both parts of your brain to relive that trauma. And basically, they what they like to call it is taking that nightmare and make it into a memory.
Yeah.
I like to say, what's revealed is healed, and that's a church slogan as well.
Yes,
So
Yeah.
our church says it a lot, which is great.
Yeah.
But no, the went and did EMDR and went back with my family and really kind of had to rediscover my why, which is that story I told y'all before.
Yeah.
We really do want to help people. We want to make a difference, and that's why we do what we do.
Yeah.
Because, sitting on that gas leak for 10 hours, you kind of have to reevaluate.
You go to the same house.
You go to the same house
17 times in a week.
Yeah. I mean, you deal with the worst of the worst. You run these calls, and you're just like, there's hold on, how much are they making at McDonald's? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Buc-ee's. You'd be a manager at Buc-ee's.
Oh, Buc-ee's. Yeah, that's what it was. That's what
Even the dudes yelling brisket on the board. Those dudes are making bank too. I thought about it.
No, but I mean, just less stress. Like, not necessarily the
Right.
pay. It's just, but this really is the best job in the world. Like, hands down. And the reason for that is we have a lot of things built in that a lot of people don't. Like, even PD, dispatch, and I'm not just stopping with them, but like all across the board. Like, we have a built-in peer support team, whether or not we call it a peer support team. We've got guys that we can talk to.
Yep.
Sorry. We got guys we can talk to. We laugh with them. We go through traumatic things together.
Yeah.
And so we build bonds, whether you like them or you don't like them.
Yeah.
And we're all doing this not for the money. I mean, it's not. I mean, everyone, So
Most of us.
it just depends. But I'm just saying that at some point, the money's not going to make a difference. I mean,
Right.
we know, like, we've had people leave the fire service in general because it's not about the money. It's like, I can't take this anymore. I can't take
absolutely
dealing with this stuff anymore.
Yeah.
And our goal is to get to retirement and enjoy the retirement.
Yep.
And so a lot of things that they talk about in readiness group, I'm going to keep rehashing them as I work with them. But,
Hammer it, dude.
But a lot of things that they talk about is we, as firemen, fire people, we have to do a job, and we do have to suck it up, and that is true in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to suck it up, and then what? We can't keep it with us.
Yeah.
If we keep it with us, we're going to end up cranky, old, and high blood pressure, cardiovascular, cancer rates, all the stuff is going to go up. And that really, truly is. I mean, me personally, that's the only way that you're going to make it to the end of the career, right?
Right.
Is keeping the chronic and critical stress away to where you can actually work and function, because and I'm taking the words out of the readiness group's mouths, but it's true. You know, the world needs firemen. The world needs, you know, police officers. They need good men to raise families.
Right.
You know, they need all of this stuff. Men, females, or, you know, wives. We need this. I mean, you don't have to walk that far to know that we're in a broken world.
Yeah.
Like, it's a hard world out there.
Yeah.
Rough world.
And so, you know, that's what we're trying to do, is make a difference. And
Yeah.
you know,
Something that strikes me as really interesting about what you say is you're talking about, like bad shit happens, and in the moment we just have to deal with it. That's the job. You just deal with it, and then later we need to figure it out, right? We need to talk about it. And it's interesting. You talk about in that specific call how this crazy shit just happened right in front of you, and your thought is, I got to go to work. Like I got to figure this problem out right now. I'm still at work. I have a job to do. And it's like we talked about a while back. We had a call where there was a mom brought her little kid to the station and knocked on the door and was like, my kid's dead, fix it.
Yeah.
It's one of those. And we talked about how most of the calls we go on, as bad as some of them might be, we have that 5, 6, 7 minutes before we get there to be like, what are we walking into?
Prep time.
And then we walk in and we're like, this is our job. We're just going to fix it, right? And I've noticed it's all, and they're not, obviously your specific situation is like pretty much as worse it can get, other than somebody attacking one of your own guys. But that situation, or our situation with that, or like a mayday on a fire that comes out of nowhere, and all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, there's a problem. I got to fix it. I can't run away from this.
Right.
Those are the ones that I think are maybe not the most difficult, because I'm not saying that all trauma is not difficult, but those ones where you're not ready for it, you haven't had that time to prep for it.
Yeah.
With us, I think are more difficult. Because in the moment, you're right, that's flip switches, and you don't have the emotion. You just go, it doesn't matter what it is. You're like, I'm just going to do my job.
Yep.
And then it's later that you can't just continue to have that excuse of like, I'm just going to get on with it. And once you get done with that and handling that situation, you have to go and do something and talk to somebody and figure it out. You can't just go, I'm going to just get over it. Because at that point, it's not the job anymore. It's taking it home to your family and taking it back to your crew and your life and all that. So, and
I'll say this to kind of add on to that. You know, whenever I was already planning to, I kept asking, like, everyone, all the chiefs come, everyone comes whenever something like that happens, and they're asking me like, do you need time off? You need this, you need that, and they did an awesome job. Like I said, I don't know if every department is this way. I hope so, but I had such a great department that was like, what do you need? What do you need? Yeah. And I was like, I do want to talk to somebody, because like something's not computing, and this one's, I've had tough calls before, and I'll get to that in a minute, but. This one's different. This one's obviously once in a lifetime. I mean, talking to these guys, they're like, dude, I've been doing this for 30 years and that's never happened. You know what I mean? Yeah. And, and so, but what I want to get to is, and being a peer is we need to talk about this stuff. Like we need to, whether that's a podcast, whether that's whoever, I would recommend talking to firemen. Don't just go talk to a counselor and make your counselor cry. I know y'all mentioned that before, but that's so true. If you go to a counselor and they're like, so how do you work again? Like, do you work kind of weird stuff, right? And they're like, okay, just don't go to that counselor.
That's like when we were when I was talking with you guys about how I ended up finding the person that I go talk to. Is I went to our chaplain and was like, who can I go talk to? Because I was like, I don't want to just Google therapists and like show up at some random therapist. Never talked to a fireman before. They're like, what the hell are you do?
Yeah.
But you're right. It's important to like go down the right place.
Yeah, they gotta know that we do shift work.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna tune them out.
We're not normal.
Yeah, we're not normal at all. You know. I talked to Dr. Tillman. I did that first 8 hours or whatever. talked to her, and she was like, "You're not going to sleep, and then when you do, it's going to crash, and then you're going to kind of, you might have some nightmares and all this stuff, and yada yada." From there, my dad's been in law enforcement for about, I think 30 years, something like that. Talked to my dad about it. He had a similar scenario happen to him way back in the day, a little bit different, but and I got reached out to all the guys that I work with. All the guys were like, "Hey man, just checking on you. Hope if you need something to talk about," which is great. I'm all for that. Like, I even had someone say, "Hey, do you want me to is that overwhelming you or whatever?" And like me personally, it really is dependent on person. I personally was like, "That's awesome, man. My dudes are in the trenches with me," kind of deal.
Yeah.
And so that was cool. But what I want to get to is, it actually wasn't a fireman. But not that means anything. But one of my dad's buddies that I grew up with, been a police officer forever. He talked to me and just like, "Hey man, I'm here for you if you ever need anything. But I did go through this exact same thing, and I'll tell you now, don't wait like I did. I waited 30 years to get this off my chest. It messed up my family. It messed up my relationships." It did damage from me not talking about it.
Right.
And so that was I was already going to go to Dr. Tillman, but I do want to credit between my dad and my family, my wife, my kids, everything like that. Like, I do want to credit that too, of just a peer. And that's why we talk about peer support's already happening, whether it's official or not. Right.
Sure. Yeah.
But someone saying like, "Hey, I went through that and this sucks and don't wait," is 100% what I needed to hear of like, I'm going to get this dealt with. I will say if you go to EMDR, and you've never done it before, it could activate other things that you've been a part of.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so when you do it, I always joke they talk about the happy place or like that. Make sure you just have that nailed down before you go and ride the lightning. But no, there's just, think about it. I mean, like, even if it's just like a nursing home or whatever, like we deal with a lot of death that no one deals with. Especially nowadays, it's almost like, hey, just like send them to the hospital and like, let them go.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it's like a veterinarian, but we don't deal like the world nowadays. I feel like doesn't deal with death, especially like how we deal with it.
Yeah, death, like dealing with death is part of the job. We deal with it all the time, and it don't be deal like your average Joe off the street. Like if they see a dead person, that's probably gonna affect them a little bit. Like not that makes us better or easier or whatever than anybody else, but like it's part of the job, right? You see death. Sometimes it's worse. Sometimes it's just, oh, we showed up and this person's just dead. And there's nothing you can do, right?
Yeah,
but,
you justify. You're like, oh, they had this.
But it's funny because I think you shared it and somebody else shared it the other day. There was a like quote thing that was like firefighters will go to some super traumatic call in the night, and then they'll get up and go to their kid's baseball game the next day. Yeah, and like that's who we are as firemen. Is we just have that way of immediately processing it to be like, whatever, we'll just put it away and not worry about it. But over time, that all builds up.
It does.
And obviously, the very traumatic calls are more not pertinent, but more forefront and bring up those traumatic things. But like you were just talking about the EMDR bringing up other stuff, like eventually that builds up, and if you don't deal with it one way or another, that can cause other problems.
Oh,
Peekaboo.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's funny. You asked me when I told you I was going to start going to see Kelly. One of the first questions you asked me is you were like, "Are you afraid of what else might come up with her, going to her?" And I was like, honestly, I'm not afraid of it because that's part of the reason I want to go to her because I need somebody to pull that out of me so I can deal with it. I'm not saying
it's in the way. It's a roadblock.
Yeah, and I like recognize that it's there. I just don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Right.
So
the cool thing about EMDR is they deal with each individual trauma. Like when they go in and you talk about it, it's not, and that's another thing that the first thing that scares all these firemen and all these big manly dudes away is they tell you like, in nicer terms, we don't really care about your feelings. And that's how they start it. She's like, the feelings might come out, because it used to be, hey, let's talk about your feelings. How'd that make you feel?
Yeah.
That's not how they do it. They go in and they say, we're going to talk about this call from point A to point B, and we're going to go through the timeline, and we are going to pick apart each individual thing of this. And y'all can do this as well. It's just EMDR helps facilitate this. Kelly and the readiness group have an amazing training about how all this works, but it's she joked the first time when I first did it was it's just voodoo, like it truly is. It like, because you leave and you're like, I was weird, I feel a lot better. And I don't know why, but taking a lot of their classes and building this peer support team and seeing the science behind it. Like I said, I want to like mess up exactly what they say, because I'm not the best student when it comes to that. But seeing the statistics of, like, they've studied this in Marines that went across and had PTSD, and they've studied this stuff for a long time, and that's why the military uses EMDR. That's why they use these techniques, because they know that it works. Yeah, because they have like actual data that backs it up. Yeah, and. I think I want to say your last podcast, someone brought it up, but it is true. I want to talk about how, like, they've scanned. I think it was the military. Like, they scanned brains to see in that brain it's not the medulla. God, it's a part of the brain, and I can't remember it to save my life right this second. But it atrophied because of them not regulating their emotions, and I can't remember. I probably could look that up. Yeah, you need to look up, guy.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Yeah, it's okay. But
we'll have an intern soon.
Yeah, but no, I mean, seeing that, it's just it really is amazing, and taking these classes. I mean, the story that I have for y'all is crazy, but you just went to SISM, right?
Yep.
Yeah, listening to the SISM class. And obviously, this is an intense story that only one in a lifetime have, yada, yada. But there's a lot of stories that are once in a lifetime. Right. And hearing these dudes talk about it, dudes, female, whoever it is, like all these people that I go with and take these, we're fairly new to it. But listening to that and saying, like, how can I help there? Like, how can this story that is my nightmare that I've turned into a memory, how can I, make this into something that is going to help more people down the road? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you talk about how, like, everybody's got their own thing, right? And we talked about this with Jonathan when we had him on, is he was talking about the big deal of, like, just because something isn't traumatic to you doesn't mean it's not traumatic to somebody else. And he talked about, like with your crew, right? Like, you may have a young guy on your crew, you might go on some call that to you is just whatever. I would just deal with it. Yeah. And to him, that might be the worst thing he's ever seen in his life.
Yeah, that
and
point,
not
absolutely.
being like, really, you couldn't handle that. Like,
worst day of your life so far.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But like, not like the old school method of like, hey, just get over it, dude. But not just understanding that everybody's got their own perspective.
Absolutely,
and being like, well, if you're struggling with it, let's talk about it.
Right.
Yeah, that's the great thing about those debriefings and how they've built this stuff is you not necessarily forget things, but like. You're pissed off at how the call went because, I've heard of there was one that this LODD, someone jumped over an LOD, excuse me.
Mayday?
Not a Mayday. It was a house fire where someone jumped over like a kid and got out of the house fire and left that kid in there. They died. And I can't remember, I don't want to get into detail, but what they found out was later on that there was, he was mentally handicapped. The guy that ended up jumped over, like they thought it was a true person, like a regular, like no.
It was like a civilian jumped over the kid.
A civilian was in the house, from what I gathered, and maybe I'm telling the story wrong, but what I'm trying to get to is hearing the pieces coming together. Like, oh no, they found out this happened, and that's what this happened. Oh, okay, well now that wraps my brain around around actually what all was said, what all happened, because you're basically. And I think some other podcasts have talked about this, of you're trying to file away those memories. Mm-hmm. And that's why you talk about it, so you can truly file away properly. And hearing some of those details of what happened, their perspectives is tremendous amount of help to to do so.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, how did this affect your home life?
I will say that home life between my wife is really great. Me and my wife are we're active in our church. We do a lot there, but I think that us as men, we tend to, and us as firemen especially, we're kind of like a suck it up at home type thing. I think that that's changed a lot. Like I here we go. I got to talk about my wife, how awesome she is. But it's true. She is really awesome. She really does, want to know what I'm thinking, how I'm thinking, and wants to be that person that I can talk to. And thank God I have that. Like,
right.
I know guys that they're like, no, don't.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear about what your story. Go talk to your buddies about it for sure. Get that stuff off your chest. But, I got to sit down and talk to my wife about it. And it's amazing that how she sees the world differently, right? Like, as much as I want to, I can't see from her perspective, and she can't see all the time from my perspective. She's a lot smarter than me, so she probably can, but
yeah.
But no, so I think home life is actually improved because of going to find like the parts that we did miss on was communication and expectations, but going to these classes and realizing why, like we kind of do that, like. It's almost like you have an expectation that she's going to understand this communication because I communicate to these guys all the time, and it's simple because we know how to communicate to each other.
Yeah.
But then we go and talk to our wives, and we're like, "This is simple. This is how we communicate." And she's like, "That's not how we communicate because this is how I communicate." Yeah. And so, it's definitely I've grown a lot from that, and just had a lot more. I try to have as much as I can with empathy. I mean, that really is what it breaks down to. I mean, you have to. We deal with the worst things all the time, and then when someone calls us for a stub toe, we're just like, why? Why are you calling us?
Yes,
3 a.m. bro.
And we
Go
get
to
it,
sleep.
But when it gets to the point where you do that for everything, and you're just that crabby person at the station, and just don't want to train, don't want to do anything, like pushing people off.
Time to give it up.
Yeah, it
Shut
is.
It
is.
Bro.
And unless you can figure out ways to get you back, and Resiliency Group does a good talk about it, about talking about getting in from the like red to the green, and basically everyone knows what the red is. They're like, oh, well, like how do you know signs and symptoms of the red, and what is the red? Okay, everyone's a little bit different, but Brandon, I know whenever he's quiet, and whenever he's quiet, and whenever he's not joking with me, and he's pissed off about something, I know that Brandon's in the red. Yep. And I can say, hey, dude, what's going on? What is it home? Is it work stuff? Is it this?
All the above.
And we can, and that's what that's what all it's about. That's what this whole thing that we're trying to do to build resiliency in ourselves is to push apart the consistent stresses, life, work, wives, kids, whatever it is, push that up. And then that critical stress, that this crazy call. And that's what happens is typically these two intersect at some point and we get into crisis. Yeah. And that's what we're trying to do is push those apart forever. Forever. Because if we don't, we're going to end up in the situation that we have. Highest suicide rates, high cancer rates, high heart rates too, but high cardiovascular disease. Yeah. Not enjoying your life. I mean, you
got to take care of yourself.
Yeah, you do.
That's what it comes down to, is taking care of yourself. And we talked a lot about that with Ashley of all these different, it's not just the trauma or the stress of work and dealing with it. It's all these other things that you don't do because of these things. Like you don't eat right, you don't sleep good, you don't take care of yourself, you're not keeping up with your vitamins or whatever it is. Like all that is because we're so stressed or so much trauma or whatever, and we're just not dealing with it, we don't have the capacity to focus on the rest of that health stuff. And so it all compounds until, like you said, we're trying to keep those apart forever. And then when they do come together, eventually you haven't dealt with any of it.
Yeah.
So,
At all.
Yeah.
And it's just it's a tough deal. I mean, that's what peer support's about. Is you can't burden this stuff by yourself. You just can't, because this is what happens.
You can't carry this weight alone. It's a motherfucker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You can't. I mean, why do we go? Us as firemen, especially, we should know better. Yeah. Like, we go to calls together
as a team.
Yep.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
And we've had this, and even getting people on board with some things. Like, our department has just grown in an amazing way that we are behind stuff. Like, even the peer support stuff. Like, I think we have 25% of people that have actually like taken some sort of I'd say 25. I can't really remember the number, but I know it's over 20 that have seek counseling, seek help. Yeah. And it's because we've bought into, this is what we do. Whenever we're first on scene, when a structure fire, what your plan is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
We're going to make a size up. The fireman's going to probably pull a line.
Yep.
Truck company is going to do a little bit something different. The second in crew is going to do something on different. We're going to have this, and this, but we know what we're going to do because we're professional. And I think the challenge is this is what we do now for being professional. We do talk about it.
Right. Yep.
We don't sit back. We don't freaking play this. This is kind of a new
macho bravado,
And I'm guilty of this. So hear me when I say this, but the thank you for your service kind of guy. Like, someone tells a story and you're like, oh, thank you for your service. And I've been there. I've done that. I would argue that I'm not saying every time you can understand when people are going crazy with their stories.
Yeah.
Right.
But maybe they are trying to get something off their chest, and maybe that, if they do tell a crazy story or whatever, like, what's that going to change? It might annoy you, yes, but at the same time, like, if they tell that story and it's something, whether that's big or small, volunteer, and I go back to, I know volunteer in my heart. And so I have a little soapbox with that, but no, seriously, like, I've heard some of these stories from Resiliency Group that, and I'll get back to the volunteer stuff, but they had one that they got dispatched to talk to, and I'm sorry if I'm butchering this to the Resiliency Group, but they had a volunteer department where basically the one of the guys had a major wreck or something. It was a major wreck that they went on, and the son was there of that fireman, and ended up being a fatality wreck. Well, during that moment, this volunteer's been, I can't remember how long he's been doing it, but he's been doing it for a long time. The son is, telling him, hey, just save him, Dad, save him, Dad. He's having this whole thing playing his mind, and doesn't turn out the way they want it to do. Well, that led him to go and commit suicide later. And so what I'm trying to get at is, with this whole volunteer thing, is let them talk. We need to let people talk. If someone comes to you and starts wanting to get something off their chest, let them. Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
I mean,
don't be too busy.
Yeah, don't be too busy. I get it. We have life. We have all these things, but that's what this is about. Is we talk about it. This is what firemen do. We talk about it, and that idea is not coming from. It's coming from one of my captains. That if you want to be a professional, you want to be a fireman, you want to be that old guy in 30 years, this is what we do. Yep. We talk about it.
Yeah.
We come in here. If we got to turn the truck off and, get us out of service, talk about it. We talk about it.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. And so I love that. I love that we're adopting that into our peer support stuff.
Even on a positive side of things, I had it's funny you talk about making time for people and just listening to them, let them talk. I have a buddy who got promoted a couple of days ago, and I was with him the other day, and it was like 30 minutes after he got the phone call, he got promoted. He's just talking and talking. He's just letting it out and talking about all these different things that go with getting promoted, all these thoughts he's having. At one point, he was like, hey, I'm sorry, man. I'm just unloading on you right now. Let me know if I need to stop. I was like, dude, this is an exciting time in your life. Let it out. I'm here to listen to you, buddy.
Yeah.
Get it out. I'm not going to stop you. And it was one of those, like, obviously it's a completely different thing than dealing with trauma, but it's one of those things, like, if somebody is in that place where he needs to get this off his chest and talk about it. I was like, talk about it, man.
Yeah.
I'm here for you.
And go ahead.
I call it clearing out the brain.
Yeah.
Right. So as you go on calls and you do, like, we do a bunch of shit outside of work, i.e. podcasting, I run a business, you run a business, you have a new business, you have several businesses. We do a bunch of things out of work. So as you start to, like, work through and collect these memories, I got to go to take the kids to my mother-in-law's. I have to go take the dogs to the vet. Like, you have all these things that are just kind of rattling around in there. Mm-hmm. You have to clear out that space. And I've realized that a lot of times, like, traumas take up a lot of that hard drive. Yeah. And you're like, whoa, dude, I haven't done EMDR, but I know I need to. Yeah. Right. I understand that I need to clear some space because I am tore up about some stuff that I've seen, and it's getting in the way of everyday daily life. Right. So
we talked about that with, I can't remember if it was Ashley or somebody else. We talked about that, having that bandwidth of, like, of, like, all this stuff that you're not dealing with is taking up all this bandwidth to where you don't have the room to deal with the shit you got to deal with at home on a daily basis. And so that's what's ruining your home life or your relationship with your wife or your kids or whatever.
So lastly, let's talk about some of your recharging techniques.
Yeah.
I know one of them is video games. We play a lot of video games.
I know, you made me sound like
your
a
wife brought
nerd
that up.
on the on the other one, my wife. Yeah, she's like, yeah, that's all he does is play video games all the time. And all my guys are like, yeah, you just play video games all the time, right?
Yeah.
No, I do like playing video games, and I will a lot of times. It's easier, right? Like, I don't have to get out and go do a round of golf, and I'm terrible at golf, so I wish I was good at golf because everyone golfs. But
I'm not good at golf, and I golf. So.
I think that's a part of it. If you like to drink and smoke, and then you don't have to be good at golf. But
now, was it you? I think another thing you do to recharge is you go out and cosplay as Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe that shouldn't be in there.
No, it's in there.
Inside joke with a friend group.
Yeah,
is someone said, "Hey, what's everyone's, like, celebrity lookalikes?" And I go, this is not me. That I never once said this. Someone in middle school said I looked like him from
Prince of Persia.
Not Prince of Persia. Yeah, we could just say that.
Your guys are going to eat this up.
I joked and said, that's the only time I've ever had a lookalike because I don't have a celebrity lookalike. Now everyone thinks I look like Jake Gyllenhaal. It's a joke. So now if you ever want to make me laugh, just put a side by side by me and Jake.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Who's your celebrity lookalike?
Wesley Snipes.
Hannibal Buress.
Whoa. He's so bad built. Sorry, Hannibal. He is terribly built.
He's funny, though.
Gosh.
He's built like a... Never mind.
Anyway.
Okay.
I was about to get oddly racist, so I had to stop.
Wesley Snipes, I love it.
Oh, yeah, dude.
I can see Wesley Snipes.
Yeah.
I got Wayne Brady a lot growing up.
Yeah?
Wayne Brady. But no, seriously, like, recharge, definitely, like, music, faith as well, like faith, family.
Huge.
Spending time with my family and all of my family, really, like wife and kids, yes, but my immediate family is really great.
It's huge.
It's huge, yeah. We get so many kids.
All right,
so many kids.
What do you got? 4 brothers?
I got 3 brothers, 2 other brothers, so 3 of us.
3
and then we all have, like, I don't even remember how many girls we have. We have a lot of girls now.
Yeah.
And then there's one boy. And
Finn.
Finn. He's good. But no, we grew up, in my boy household, we were just fighting all the time and and wrestling, doing all that stuff. We lived on some land, so we literally did all that kind of stuff. I did rodeo and, fighting basically.
Yep. Yep.
And then kind of now it's the complete opposite. Like, my kid, like having girls is like
It's all girls. Yeah, we all live in Alito now. And it's like all it's quiet and it's like oof, yeah.
But no, I mean, kind of get back to your question of just recharge techniques. Like I know in the moment, like music, worship music in particular, believe it or not, like I say reading the Bible, but that's cliche. I'm just trying to say like finding verses that stuck out to me back in the day that like still mean something now, or that that mean something then that I learned that kind of. That's why I like writing that stuff down. I'm not terrible at like writing stuff down, but I try to do that.
So it's funny you say that. I have actually started journaling. I've started journaling life events, and I've also started journaling my workouts.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, that's good. I probably should be better at it. Honestly, like I'm more of an auditory person, anyways. So I've heard to like do it like in an audible or what? Not audible, but dictate it. Yeah, and that might help. I probably should try to do that. But something along that line of like, what did I learn? Where am I coming from? Like, did I experience this already? Did I already, kind of?
Well, and I think it's really cool. Like, so in that medium, you get to express to your own self how you felt, and there's going to be no one's external. Right.
There's no one to misunderstand it.
Yeah. You go, hey, B, this is how you felt when that happened.
Yeah.
Or, like, oh, yeah, well, when that happened, you felt like shit.
Yeah.
Right. And you get to say that to yourself, and you get to, one, clear your mental hard drive, and you get to get it off your chest. Like, you get to clear that space and let yourself be vulnerable to you. So that's cool.
Yeah. I like to, I think it's from Reddit Group as well, but they talk a lot about how people want to like go back to work because it's like their place to recharge. And I've tried that before. I say I tried that. But like I was going through something and I was like, you know what? Like I really like being in this fire stuff and like I'll just get back on the truck and that will work. Yeah. And you just bury that. But if you go and find things that you, Brandon, you, Chris, like what you like to do and not what your wife likes to do, whatever, whether that's fishing. A lot of people like fishing, hunting, all that kind of stuff, and go out. There's just so much peace to that you get to just recharge and say, okay, I can do this again. I can keep going. That is the main thing. Like you kind of lose if you're the way you find those things is like, if you had $1 kajillion and had nothing to worry about, what would you go do right now by yourself? Like what is it that it, it does that? Yeah. And then once you find that, kind of lean into it. And so, easy one is music. Like wherever I'm at, like I've just got to have some sort of music. Like I'm in the gym, like obviously Taylor Swift. No, no, but like hard rock music or hard rap or whatever. Whenever, you go into a fire, what do you like? I mean, I'm thinking of
AC/DC,
Hells and Bells. I mean, what else is there? That kind of
Taylor
stuff.
Swift.
Yeah. Taylor Swift again. No, but like that's what it is. Like finding those things, and then whenever you realize that you're getting into that, like knowing what makes you those types. I isolate a lot more. I used to be angry, but I guess like seeing anger, I still get angry, but seeing anger to me, like I just know how like that can affect people. Even whenever you're trying, and I still do this, the kids, stuff like that. You're like, stop yelling. You know? But you don't realize like the effect that you're having on them and what you're teaching. Your kids is like. Then you wonder why like your kid's screaming at you. You're like, why? Because you've modeled that.
Where'd you get that from?
Yeah, exactly. So I try to. I say limit. I mean, be slow to anger, and which puts me in a place where I'm more isolated. Like I'm more whenever I'm not like talky and laughy and all talky. When I'm not, joking around and having a good time, like something's off. And and that I know that about myself.
That's how I am. I try to. It's especially the last few years, and we talked about this a little bit on here. It's like I'm a lot of the time lately. I'll say the last 6-8 months or so. Like I've felt a lot more anger for what I think is no reason. I don't know where it comes from. I just feel that anger. And I try to be better at curbing that so it doesn't come out as anger at people. Yeah. But now, like you're saying, that kind of just turns into being quiet. So like I get like really reserved.
Yeah, it's withdrawn.
And I don't talk to anybody and just ignore what's going on around me and all that. And like people notice that. Like my guys at work, they'll be like, after like an hour that I just haven't said anything, and they'll be like, "Yeah, you good?"
You give you some real truth that will like, because if you do the same thing that I do, I'm about to give you just a thing that you're be like, "Oh yeah, I do that all the time." Yeah. When someone asks you something and you want to talk about it, but you're like, "Oh, I don't know."
Yes.
You deflect, dude.
100%.
You deflect.
Yeah, you're just like, yeah, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I have two kind of follow-up questions. One, I'm going to ask them both right now because they kind of go with each other. Is one, how are you at work now? Or are you different? Do you feel that you're different at work now after having this major thing happen at work? Does it affect you at work, or do you just like you're still good to go to work? And then the follow up to that is, do you have anything in the mornings on your way to work that kind of gets you in the mindset to go to work? Because like I've asked this to multiple people, like you can be as into the job as you want. Everybody's got bad days, right? Sometimes I wake up and I'm like, I don't fucking want to go to work. Do you have anything that kind of gets you going in the morning to get you into that mindset of being positive at work? So
definitely. So to answer your first question, like, well, I guess let me start this way. What gets me to go into work, because I do that too. I'm like, oh my god, I don't freaking get up. Yeah. If I could just teleport there, like I love being there. You know what I mean? It's really just the drive.
Once I get there,
but to answer that part is just, and this is a movie quote, and I do quote a lot of movies, but I think it's from what's that one with the medic that doesn't use a gun. Anyways. It's a true story about man. What is
Hacksaw
that?
Ridge.
Hacksaw Ridge,
Batman?
It's him too. He says, "Don't be an idiot."
Yeah.
And I try to live that. No, there's a part there that he talks about, even in the documentary part of it. Is he's like, just one more. I just want to do it one more. I just want to save one more person, and that's how I view talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's definitely at work made me more confident in that sense of like. Talking to, it doesn't matter if I'm talking to the chief or if I'm talking to brand new rookie. Hey man, we're going to see some messed up stuff. We need to talk about it. It goes back to being that, this is what we do as firemen. We talk about this stuff. We don't sit back and let this harbor and cause problems between the crew, between you and your wife.
Don't let it fester.
Don't let it fester. Yeah. And, I've been reading a book. It's very touchy-feely. The book cover does sound like that's the first thing I read was Everybody Matters. And basically the short synopsis of it is this guy, he ends up running a business and they do a bunch of things to kind of make the business more profitable, yada, yada. They ended up talking to firemen. But what I thought was really interesting, the biggest takeaway from that was I used to think that your home life dictated your work life, but from that book, you're more at home, or you're more at work than you are at home typically. Like especially the 40-hour week. Yeah. Like you got to sleep, so you're not really doing anything there.
Yep.
You got that certain amount of time with your family. With us, it's a little bit different. We do spend a lot of time at the fire station, but we also have a lot of time home.
Yeah.
But if we can create that culture at the home or at the fire station to ignite us for our home life.
Yeah.
That's how it should work.
Yes.
Yeah. You know what I mean? We shouldn't be putting out fires, no pun intended, and trying to like control things. We need to ignite these people. And that was one thing I was going to mention a little bit later was celebrate the wins. If it's a little win, if we all got there and we had a good tour, celebrate that. I'm not saying to go out and, get hammered drunk or anything, but just if we had a kick-ass save, if we had something simple, we talk about it and we say, hey man, that was awesome. Good job on that IV. Good job good job on dinner. Like, that, I don't know.
That praise goes a long way.
Yeah. We had guys, working at the station, just like building props for us. And I went out there and I'm like, hey man, like, I just wanted to let you know, like, you're valued. And he's like, come on, stop being that. I'm like, no, seriously. Like, I've been in other departments. I've been talking to other guys. Like no one, like I don't have another guy that comes out here and freaking works on a prop that I can go train on, and that's awesome, dude.
I was talking with Justin Hanley the other day. We were running on Texas this last week, and obviously running a conference, like as an attendee to a conference, what you see is what we want you to see, and you show up, you have a good time. And some people know, but most people they have no idea what it took to make all that happen. I'm not saying we're some great people for doing it, but there's a lot of work that goes into it, right? And I was talking with Justin Hanley this week, and he was telling me when he was doing the search school with Fire Nuggets a while back at TCC. He said there was one day where he was running around like a freaking chicken with his head cut off, 2 radios going, driving around the golf cart, like all this shit's going on, and he's just in it. He's trying to put out fires and make it happen. Right. And he was like, somebody came up to him and was like, "Hey man, you good?" And he was like, "What? Yeah, I'm good." And he was like, have you taken a second, just 5 minutes, and just stop, turn the radio off, and look around, and just see what's going on? You're doing a good job. Yeah. He was like, what you are doing is fantastic. And you're so caught up in what's going on, trying to fix everything. You haven't taken a second to look back and see that what is going on is a good thing. And we were talking about it in the context of going to Texas. We were talking with like me and Gus and Curtis and all them, and talking about how the whole week we've just been like, it's one thing after another we got to figure out a solution for. But taking a second to look back at the big picture and be like, it's working out. It's fun. Yeah. It's people are having a good time. It's good. And so, like you were talking, it's a good thing to celebrate those wins. Absolutely. And talk about it and give praise where it's due, and understand that, we all have things that we deal with, but there's wins, man, and it's important to celebrate.
And it's really important to celebrate them amongst yourselves, right? So we look at a lot of like, so it sucks. At my department, we don't get a lot of recognition for saves and things like that. But on our shift, man, yesterday Quint was truck of the day, means you pull it out, set the stick, and what we did was when we set the stick, we climb it. It's up. You might as well get a little workout in, and you might as well, get used to, for me, I'm afraid of heights, get used to being up there. Yep. And so our lieutenant went up, and I mean, it whipped his ass, but he did it. And like the whole way, like everybody's cheering, clapping, like we celebrated his win in that moment, And I think it's really big because especially if it doesn't come from the top, you have to do that yourself. Especially if it doesn't come from your family, you have to do that with your boys. Yeah. Because I know you. I know what goes on at your house, but I don't know everything that goes on in your house. And same for you, right? So when I see you, it's best that I celebrate you because, hey, you might be in a fight with your wife and you might not be getting the recognition you want. Yeah. But if I can do what I can do, then like let me do my part to help you out.
It was like when we had Jonathan on and he blindsided us with the, "Hey man, you're doing a good job as a dad." And I was like, oh my God.
Yo, that was a tough one.
Yeah. Why you have to throw that on me?
Yeah, man.
And I'll add on to that, like they need you. We need you, Right. Like your kids need you. Yeah. They need you to show up. And it's really hard to say because I've got y'all have come home to the shift and it's the worst shift of your entire life. Like you got to go and be that to them, you know. And
they don't understand. They don't have a reference point. Yeah. They just see dad walk in the door. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And hearing that from one of your dudes, one of your guys, one of the crew. Yeah. And saying, "Hey man, they need you. We need you." And goes so far. Like, I've had a time before in my life where that I've talked somebody out of what I believe was something, and it was only that of just saying, "Hey, you are valuable today." Like, if no one in the entire world cares at all, I do. I'm here, and I've said that on calls before, and on suicide call, whatever that is. When we get there, hey, I know you're going through a lot right now, but I'm here and I care. I don't know what else is going on in your life. But if there's one person in the entire world that gives a crap about this, is me, and I'm here. Yeah. And that just goes so far. Yep. You know what I mean?
It's huge.
It is.
We touched on it earlier, but we were talking about, ways to get back into the game going home. One thing we used to do on A shift was we used to walk out together, right? So somebody's got a late report, it's taking them 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever. And you just kind of sit around and you wait and you walk out that door together, right? And it's kind of signifying, like, it's cheesy, but it's signifying, hey, we came in, We handled business and we walked out together. We didn't lose anybody this tour. Everyone's going home. Like, we made it, right? Because unfortunately, not every shift, not every tour, not every fireman gets to do that. There's going to be 100 deaths this year, and there's going to be 100 dudes who won't go home.
Yeah.
So even that little gesture, that little mental mind game of going out of the door together, we did it.
That's good.
It's huge.
That's good.
Yeah.
And I would argue on the other side too that, like, you know, coming from your significant other and leaving, Chelsea is, I'm like, I'm running late. I stayed up too late or whatever it is. She's like, no, you're gonna give me a kiss. I don't want to. I want it.
Yeah.
I want this before we leave in case anything happens to you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like 5 a.m. but she's right, and I'm glad that I listen to her and I do this.
It's an important thing.
It is.
That we talked about that on the Wives episode, and that's something that Taylor and I do every morning that I go to work. I'm sure there's some mornings where I've forgotten to do it, but every morning when we go to work, I make a point before I leave to go over and give her a kiss, tell her goodbye, because just you never know.
You never know, and they never know in general in life, but because our our job, what it is, like
high risk.
Yeah. I mean, it's a high risk and normal. Shoot, I'm more nervous about being on a freaking highway than I am
100%.
You know what I mean? Than a structure fire any day. Dude. I'll go in the middle, screaming, yelling, having a good time. But man, highways, I'm just like extra nervous about everything, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, all that stuff. But I will like to say one thing, at least for the end. I don't know if you want to end with this or not, but in Fire Academy, do you remember kind of the first things they do right whenever you the first thing they do, at least in mine, was they make you take your gear on and off about 1,000 times.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I think that's significant, and I think that everyone should do that. Take off your gear off, on and off, because you got to get comfortable in it, whatever. I get that. But one of the main things they do, and I can't remember if it's exactly the first day or whatever it is, but they make you grab a hose line and put your hand down on it and see, hey, shanks the tank. And the significance of that is knowing who you are, knowing how to do it, right? Obviously, like putting the gear on, everything. But if you get into a bad situation, just remember shanks the tank. I'm gonna get home and I'm gonna have somebody with me to take care of me. I'm gonna have a crew.
Right.
So knowing who you are, knowing there's people there for you, and knowing the way out. But also, and I like to add, knowing where the fire is.
Yes.
You get to have some fun too.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, that's kind of my big anytime I do any speeches, stuff like that, I like to leave with just remember it shakes the tank, because that's what we do.
Yep.
In a dangerous situation. In a situation that I'm blacked out, I don't know, I just have a hose line, I can get out.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Yep. That's pretty good, buddy.
Yeah.
We appreciate you for coming out.
Yeah, man, anytime.
Yeah.
Chris, Fill the Box Foundation.
Yeah.
We got to get started on that.
Yeah.
Summertime, now that Gone to Texas has slowed down, we're back into Fill the Box mode. And actually, so you guys, heads up, I know the episodes have been a little sporadic. Bear with us. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Chris and I are both going on vacation at separate times, not the same time. We're not that cool. I leave next week and then he leaves the week after, some shit like that. So we won't be back till July. But with that, June is Men's Mental Health Month. So, dude, reach out to your brothers. Go get a tea time. Go shoot some guns. Go hang out. Have a guy's day. It's a perfect time, perfect excuse. Tell your wife, hey, watch these crotch goblins. I'm about to go hang out with the boys. But June is Men's Mental Health Month, so really dig into your brothers. What you got?
Nothing, man. This is good. I really appreciate you coming out and sharing all that. I think it's just like I said to everybody we come on, it's another perspective, right?
Absolutely.
So that's what, like, obviously you're a fireman, but the whole point of this since we started was to just freaking get as many perspectives as we can to just come on, share your story.
I love it.
Share what you know. We share what we know, which usually isn't a lot, but it's something. And
we're figuring it the fuck out.
Hopefully it gets to somebody. This has already been a very rewarding experience doing this podcast. We've already had a bunch of people reach out and one way or another say that they either got something out of it or it gave them the confidence to go talk to somebody or make a decision or whatever it is. And like I shared last time that I kind of took our own advice finally and went to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
So
That's what it's about,
working
man.
through that.
That's awesome.
Yep.
And so, thanks for coming on. And,
Yeah,
and,
man.
like Brandon said,
Thanks again.
we'll be back probably in July with another episode.
Yep.
So,
A big thank you again. I know I started out the show with this, but dude, thank you to everybody who purchased a shirt, a hat, whatever. Dude, that meant so much. It restored my whole outlook on this, right?
oh, it's okay. I've had a bunch of people, you know how firemen are. I've had a bunch of people that have come up to me and be like, "Hey man, can I buy a hat?" I'm like, "Yeah, we had a store up for a month."
Yeah, yeah, dude.
That's cool. Yeah, but we'll figure it out. We'll get you a hat.
Well, and so like I said, so the hats and shirts that went out, they were a limited edition, right? Nobody else will get one of those. Those are all going to be first season, first run. That's it. Everything else will probably it'll be cool. I mean, we're going to do our damnedest.
Yeah, you're cool.
Yeah, we're going to be cool. We're going to figure it out, but it ain't going to be like the first run. That first run is going to be real special.
Yep.
And it's a lot of people who were committed to us because they believed in what we're doing. And so, I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Cool. Well, you got anything else?
I mean, that's it. Yeah, we appreciate you guys. I like we are doing. I know it's new and exciting, and I think that y'all are gonna make it far. So I like it a lot, man.
Thanks,
Thanks,
buddy.
buddy.
So,
Yeah. Cool.
All right, let's go drink.
We'll see you on the next one.
All right, boys.